old woman. You think this house belongs to you. Get out! Get out of my life!
Please, I only wanted to visit my grandchild.
Go! Chase that filthy old woman out of here!
My child, I can't breathe. Help me. Help me, please.
The hot wind from the Murtala Muhammad runway swept across the airport like the familiar breath of home. After 3 months in Dubai, 3 months of closed-door meetings, $100 million deals, and long nights staring at the golden city beneath his feet, Obafemi was finally back in Lagos, back where his heart truly belonged. His light gray suit still carried the scent of expensive cologne, but his eyes softened the moment he stepped through the international arrivals door. Lagos was loud, vibrant, even chaotic. But to him, that noise was home. It was memory. It was his mother. He pulled his suitcase with one hand, the other reaching into his pocket for his phone. The screen lit up, 17 missed calls, neighbors, 3 anonymous videos received. He froze. A thin wave of unease washed over him quick, sharp like a dark cloud suddenly blotting out the desert sun he'd grown used to in Dubai. But he brushed it off. 3 months away, of course, things could happen. Missed calls from neighbors weren't unusual. Anonymous videos. This was Lagos. Pranks were nothing new. He slipped the phone back into his pocket. He didn't watch anything, and that was his first mistake of the day. His mind was focused on one thing only, Mama Tinu. Her image appeared so clearly that his chest tightened, the low bun of silver hair, the thin hands that always smelled faintly of sweet oranges, and the smile that could soften even the worst day. She was the woman who sold heirloom wedding bangles passed down through 3 generations just so he could stay in school. The one who limped on her cane to every parent-teacher meeting, who waited silently in the rain just to see him run through the school gate. She was the reason the world now called him Billionaire Obafemi. His steps slowed as he imagined the moment waiting for him. Opening the villa gate, seeing her sitting on the porch with her green Ankara scarf over her shoulders, and hearing her say, just like every time he returned, "W, me, finally. My son is home." The very thought softened his heart, washing away 3 months of exhaustion. He called his driver. A glossy black SUV rolled up to the curb. As he opened the door, he had no idea that at that very moment, just 30 minutes away inside his own sprawling mansion, nothing was as he believed. The road from the airport to Ikoyi was unchanged. Roadside stalls, cheerful vendors shouting prices, children running barefoot across the hot ground. But to Obafemi, everything looked strangely beautiful today. He had made more than he expected on this trip. The Dubai tech deal was secured, the West Africa AI project approved. He held in his hands plans that could reshape Nigeria's tech landscape. He wanted to tell his mother. He wanted to see pride in her eyes. He wanted her Riro. He wanted her to scold him for losing weight. He wanted just for a moment to be his son again. At a red light, the driver glanced at him through the rearview mirror. "Sir, you look very happy today." Obafemi chuckled. "Of course. I'm finally going home." But then his phone buzzed again. A new message. "Sir, please check the videos. It's urgent." From an unknown number. The smile on his face faded slightly, but he still didn't open the phone. He reassured himself, probably neighbors arguing. Maybe someone asking for help. Maybe stray cats triggering security sensors. Lagos was full of small, ridiculous troubles. The SUV turned onto the main road leading to the Obafemi estate. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky with streaks of red and orange. And somewhere within that fading light, he felt something shift, an instinct, faint but unmistakable. The kind a mother feels, except this time it was a son. A whisper of dread. A strange certainty that behind the automatic gate waiting ahead, there would be no smile from Mama Tinu, no warm bowl of Riro, no soft voice calling his name, but rather a void. A cold, crushing silence waiting to swallow him whole. He inhaled deeply. The SUV slowed. The gate of the house stood just ahead, still and quiet in the blood-red dusk. Obafemi did not know. He did not know that if he had simply unlocked his phone and pressed play on the first video, his entire world would have changed forever. Obafemi's villa sat quietly on a tree-lined street in Ikoyi, a luxurious fortress cut off from the world. But behind those pristine white walls, what was growing wasn't peace. It was a silent, expanding black hole. And at the center of it stood Ayoka. Ayoka beautiful enough to make people turn back 2, even 3 times. Skin smooth and warm like melted chocolate, eyes sharp as hidden knives beneath perfect mascara, and a smile that could melt an entire room when she chose to show it. But that smile almost never appeared when Mama Tinu walked into the house. Instead, her eyes would shift cold, shadowed, as if the mere presence of her mother-in-law was an insult. The neighbors had seen it, heard it, whispered about it. There's something off about Ayoka. She looks at her mother-in-law like she's an enemy. Ever since Obafemi left, her attitude changed. The truth was, the feud between the 2 women didn't start big. It started with tiny things. Mama Tinu's gentle advice about raising a child. Little reminders that Ayoka took as criticism. Sometimes even a simple glance was enough to ignite the jealousy of a young woman never used to being questioned. The day Obafemi boarded the plane to Dubai, the air in the house grew heavy like someone had sucked all the oxygen out. Ayoka stood at the upstairs railing, watching her husband kiss their son before hurrying to the car. She smiled, but the smile vanished the moment the gate closed. Finally, she whispered, her voice icy. I can breathe. For 3 months, the power inside the house shifted toward her. No more watchful eyes of a husband. No more quiet authority of one of the richest men in the district. And Ayoka, spoiled by comfort and praise, embraced that time as a season of freedom. What she didn't expect was this. Mama Tinu came to visit her grandson. It was a mild, sunny day. A soft breeze rustled the trees, carrying the smell of red earth and birdsong. Mama Tinu walked to the gate holding a basket of boiled sweet potatoes and a container of fragrant egusi soup. Her eyes sparkled at the thought of little Ifeoluwa, her pride and joy. The doorbell rang. The door opened. And Ayoka appeared on the doorstep like a queen stepping out from her self-built throne. She folded her arms and lifted her chin. What are you doing here? Mama Tinu smiled gently, her voice warm. I came to see my grandson. I brought some food as well. She lifted the basket slightly, but Ayoka didn't look at the basket. She stared straight into the older woman's face, as if her presence alone was an unforgivable offense. Why are you here? I don't need you. She snapped, her voice dripping with contempt. The air stilled. The world cracked like a thin sheet of glass. A few neighbors passing by stopped and turned. Mama Tinu looked stunned, as if someone had slapped her. She was used to Ayoka's coldness, but she had never heard this. I just want to see my grandchild, she said softly, her hands trembling with hurt. Obafemi is not home, but I am his mother. And who told you you could enter this house when I haven't given permission? Ayoka cut her off, every word a blade. The elderly woman's steps faltered. Her lips moved, unsure of what to say. My child, this is also my home. It's my son's house. Ayoka laughed a short, sharp laugh that chilled the spine. Exactly. It's his house. Not yours. The whole street fell silent. A dog barked in the distance. Dust drifted lazily across the pavement. Mama Tinu looked down at the basket in her hands, then up at the doorway blocked by a beautiful young woman whose eyes were darker than a moonless Lagos night. Let me see my grandson, she said, no longer pleading, but asserting her right as a mother. But Ayoka had already crossed beyond the limits of a simple argument. The resentment she had nurtured for 3 months finally had space to bloom. She stepped down one stair, eyes narrowing, voice dropping to something dangerous. You will not step into my house. Not today. Not ever. A cold blanket of silence fell. Mama Tinu stood still, not from fear, but from disbelief that her daughter-in-law would say such words. Aoka turned away, ready to slam the door. But then, from inside the house, a child's voice piped up, "Grandma?" Mama Tinu's face lit up instantly, joy flooding her eyes. But Aoka spun around, her expression darkening. "Don't you ever call her grandma in front of me." The child shrank back. And in that exact moment, the seed of tragedy dropped onto the tiled doorstep, quiet but unstoppable. Aoka looked at Mama Tinu like she wanted to devour her. No one knew what thoughts were twisting through her mind, only that something had snapped. A moral boundary, a line no one should ever cross. Mama Tinu remained standing outside, holding her basket of sweet potatoes, which were now growing cold. And the neighbors, watching from a few houses away, whispered, "Something bad is going to happen." They were right. Because from that moment on, Aoka didn't just want to push her mother-in-law away. She began thinking about teaching her a lesson, a cruel lesson unlike anything this quiet neighborhood in Nigeria had ever witnessed. That afternoon, the Lagos sky looked as if it had been covered with a thin layer of ash. No sunlight, no breeze. The air stood still, heavy, unmoving, like the entire neighborhood was holding its breath before a storm that hadn't yet been named. And right in the center of that silence, Aoka stood on the porch, her fingers wrapped around a small black remote, a device only people inside the house knew the purpose of. The dog kennel gate, a heavy iron door built along the side wall, trembled slightly as Aoka pressed the button halfway. The metallic sound made a couple of neighbors glance over, but no one imagined what was coming next. Mama Tinu stood near the main gate, lifting her Ankara scarf to wipe her forehead while trying to keep her composure. She believed Aoka was only threatening her, that her daughter-in-law couldn't possibly go that far, that no matter the resentment, a young woman still had some humanity left. But she was wrong, terribly wrong. Aoka tilted her head, her lips curling into a cold smile, one completely stripped of warmth. "You said you came to see your grandson?" she said, her voice smooth as oil. "But first, let's see how fast you can run." The old woman blinked. "Run?" Aoka pressed her finger down. Beep. The kennel door snapped open, and then they burst out. Two boar bulls, massive, muscular, like two living battering rams launched forward like twin arrows. Their claws scraped the tiles with the thunder of war drums. Hair raised along their necks. They barked viciously, foam spraying from their jaws. Their eyes burned red like twin embers. They were no longer pets, not dogs, not companions. In that moment, they were predators. Everything unfolded in slow motion, like a film stretched thin until it suffocated you. Mama Tinu stepped back. Then another step. Her hands shook, the basket of sweet potatoes slipping from her grip, the tubers rolling across the white tiles. "Aoka!" She screamed, her voice already breaking. "Don't! They will bite me." But her desperation only seemed to amuse Aoka more. She folded her arms, unmoving, her eyes glowing with cruelty. "Let's see," she whispered, "if your precious billionaire can save anyone." Then the world shattered. The first dog lunged, slamming its nearly 80-kilogram body against her chest. Mama Tinu was thrown to the ground, her back cracking against the tiles. The breath was knocked out of her before she could even cry. The second dog sank its teeth into her arm, a sharp, cold, deep bite. Blood gushed instantly, bright red against the white floor, spreading like a dying flower. "Lauren, help me," she sobbed, her voice trembling. She tried to crawl, tried to wrap her headscarf around the wound, but the other dog grabbed the hem of her blouse, yanking so hard that she slid across the floor. Its breath was hot against her face, reeking of raw meat. "Aoka, please!" She cried out one last time, with the helplessness of a child abandoned in the dark. But Aoka didn't move. No emotion, no pity. She simply watched, as if she were witnessing a scene she had scripted long ago. Neighbors began to scream, "Turn it off!" Ayoka, what are you doing? God, someone help her. Call the police, call now. One neighbor pulled out a phone and recorded, then another. Then another. The screams mixed with furious barking, with the sound of tearing fabric, with the choking sobs of an elderly woman. A symphony of horror the entire neighborhood would remember forever. Mama Tinu tried to stand. Her legs trembled like old branches in a storm, but the dogs were too fast. One clamped down on her calf. Another leaped at her shoulder. She fell again, her vision blurring with blood and tears. Children in the neighborhood hid behind their mothers, crying. Adults tried to run forward, but were forced back by the sheer savagery of the dogs. Meanwhile, Ayoka. She simply stood there, watching, cold and faintly satisfied. As if this were the punishment she believed her mother-in-law deserved. Finally, Mama Tinu gathered the last of her strength and dragged herself toward the gate. Her trembling hand reached for the metal bars, as though praying for a miracle to help her escape. But blood dripped freely from her wounds, leaving bright red spots across the white floor. Her lips quivered. Tamwme. Obafemi. Help your mother. One of the dogs leaped again. Neighbors screamed. Stop them. Someone do something. Oh my God. Their cries echoed through the entire neighborhood, freezing Lagos in a few horrifying seconds of disbelief. And the camera of one neighbor kept recording, capturing every second, every bite, every fading breath. Those videos were the 3 anonymous videos Obafemi received. The ones he didn't watch at the airport. The SUV glided smoothly along the road from the airport to Ikoyi. Through the window, Lagos stretched out like a living tapestry. Street vendors balancing trays on their heads. Voices calling across the traffic, walls stained by the late afternoon sun. But inside the car, the world was entirely different, quiet, luxurious, polished. A world completely at odds with what was waiting for Obafemi just ahead. He leaned back into the seat and closed his eyes for a moment. 3 months in Dubai had drained him more than he expected, but it also handed him the biggest deals of his life. To everyone else, he was an icon, a legend in the tech world, a man who couldn't be shaken. But right now, in this rare pocket of silence, he felt only like a son who desperately wanted to hug his mother. The driver smiled at him through the rearview mirror. Sir, you seem very relaxed today. Obafemi turned on some soft music. A gentle piano melody filled the car, cool and calming. Because I'm going home, he said quietly, and my mother. She's waiting. In his mind, Mama Tinu appeared vividly. Her bending down to pick up sweet potatoes for him when he was little. Her smile when he argued with neighborhood boys. Her arms around him on cold, rainy mornings. The memories swelled in him so strongly he almost wanted to tell the driver to speed up. But as his joy grew, the Lagos sky suddenly darkened, unnaturally, as though a massive cloud had lowered itself over the city, swallowing the last bits of daylight. The driver slowed down. Looks like a storm coming, sir. Obafemi opened his eyes and glanced outside. Storm? He chuckled. It's dry season. There shouldn't be any storm, but some storms don't come from the sky. They come from truth, and this one was rushing straight toward him. His phone buzzed. BZZZT. A notification flashed. One new message neighbor, he glanced at it. Probably another one of the many messages from neighbors. Maybe someone reporting a broken fence, a loose wire, or someone asking for assistance. Small stuff. Nothing worth ruining the lightness he felt in his chest. He didn't open it. The SUV turned down the main road. Wind brushed through the treetops, but Obafemi had no idea that just a few streets away, his mother's blood was still smeared across white tiles. Neighbors were still shaken, and 3 strong men were still holding down 2 furious Borbols. The entire neighborhood was in shock. But he at this moment was smiling. The driver said, "Your wife called earlier. Should I call her back?" Obafemi shook his head. "Later, I want to see my mother first." He had no idea Ayoka was inside the house right now, breathing hard, hands stained with faint smudges of blood, frantically trying to erase the traces of the attack she had caused. The phone buzzed again. BZZZT. This time, there was a second message. "Sir, please, open the video." From an unknown number. Then another. "It's your mother." Something happened. Obafemi's expression shifted slightly. A small crease tightened between his brows. He picked up the phone slowly, his thumb hovering over the first message. The soft piano still played, but suddenly the music felt strained, drawn out, suffocating. He opened the text, just one sentence. 9 words. "You need to watch this video now." Immediately, a chill raced down his spine. Not just worry, not curiosity, but deadly intuition, the kind every child knows when they fear losing the person they love most. He tapped the attached video file. A red icon flickered. The large file began to load using the car's network. 17%, 32%, 51%. The driver glanced back. "Sir? Everything okay?" Obafemi didn't respond. The loading bar kept climbing. He stared at the screen, his heart pounding faster, harder, like an alarm bell inside his chest. 67%, 82%, 95%, 100%. The video was ready. Just one more tap, and the truth would be revealed. Just one more tap, and his world would collapse like a building wired with explosives. But he still didn't press play. He took a long breath. His hand trembled slightly. "Sir?" the driver asked again, now worried. Obafemi placed the phone on his lap and looked out the window. His breathing grew heavy. The happiness he carried moments ago evaporated like smoke. It had begun. Even without seeing anything yet, his heart already knew this video wouldn't bring good news. Then, as if the universe refused to let him delay any longer, his phone vibrated violently. BZZT, BZZT. A new message popped up. "Sir, please hurry. It's about Mama Tinu." And in that instant, every sound vanished. No music, no traffic, no voices. Only pure, absolute silence. Right before the storm shattered his life. The SUV screeched to a sudden stop right in front of the villa gate. The tires hadn't even fully stopped spinning when Obafemi flung the door open and jumped out. The driver panicked and shouted, "Sir, sir, what's wrong?" But he didn't answer. He couldn't. The phone in his hand felt hot, burning, throbbing in time with his heartbeat. He stood before the gate, the same gate that once held years of happy memories, but today it felt like the mouth of a deep pit waiting to swallow his entire life. He pressed play on the video. The screen lit up. The villa's gate camera appeared high angle, crystal clear, capturing every detail. The sound of dogs barking echoed from the video, sending a chill crawling down Obafemi's spine. He swallowed hard, gripping the edges of his phone. 0:00, the camera scanned the yard. A calm afternoon, nothing unusual. 0:03, the side gate opened, not from the wind, not by accident. Ayoka stepped into the frame. She wore heels, a fitted dress, her makeup flawless. But her eyes, even through a security camera, were cold as shattered glass. Obafemi felt his chest clamp tight the moment his wife walked out of the side gate, a gate only family members knew how to unlock. 0:06, Ayoka looked up straight at the camera. Not accidental, not distracted. She looked, directly, as if saying, "Watch closely." "I'm not afraid of anything." Obafemi's knees buckled. He grabbed the gate to keep from collapsing. "No, no, that's impossible," he whispered. 0:08. Ayoka lifted her hand, a small black remote, very small, very familiar. 0:09. Her finger pressed the button. Beep. 0:10. The dog kennel door swung open. And from the darkness, 0:11. 2 borbals exploded into view like unhinged beasts. Obafemi's hands trembled so violently that tears blurred the screen. 0:13. Mama Tinu stepped back. She was shaking. Terrified, she called her son's name, weak, thin, like a dying breath. Dumwme. Obafemi. His heart imploded. Mom! Oh God! Mom! He gasped, sinking to his knees, clutching his chest as if trying to keep his heart from tearing itself apart. 0:15. The first dog lunged. She fell to the ground. Blood splattered onto the camera lens. The image shook as she crawled. 0:17. The second dog bit into her leg, a brutal deep bite that made her scream in agony. That scream detonated inside Obafemi's skull like lightning. He screamed back at the empty yard, "Stop!" But the video didn't stop. It continued, unyielding, merciless, forcing him to endure every second. 0:20. Ayoka stood with her arms crossed. No rushing forward, no shouting, no attempt to help. She stood still, watching, as if she were enjoying the scene. The dogs slammed Mama Tinu again and again, dragging her across the tiles. She tried to run, to shield her head with her hands, her scarf long gone. Ayoka didn't move an inch. Her eyes were hollow. Her lips curved ever so slightly, a faint, vicious smile, as if she had waited a long time for this moment. 0:25. The camera zoomed in automatically, detecting strong motion. It captured Mama Tinu's face soaked in tears, in blood, in a despair no words could describe. "Glo, run. Save me." Her final plea stabbed straight through Obafemi's heart. 0:32. She was yanked down one last time. Her head hit the stone step hard. Blood streamed down each stair, a dark red waterfall. 0:36. She stopped moving. The dogs kept barking, still trying to bite, but neighbors rushed in with sticks and metal rods, pushing the animals back out of frame. 0:40. The camera flickered, the footage blurred. Ayoka was still standing there. She didn't run to help. She didn't call anyone. She didn't show a flicker of remorse. She simply turned around and walked back into the house, as if closing a door. As if this were just another task on her daily schedule. The video ended. Obafemi couldn't breathe. A final line appeared on screen. "Your mother is unconscious. We called emergency services." He stared at the phone, hands trembling violently. His lips quivered, and he managed to speak only one sentence. A sentence fractured, broken, falling apart like ash in the wind. "Ayoka, why did you do this to my mother?" The evening wind brushed past him, but he felt nothing. The world around him faded into a hollow void. And the only sound that remained in his mind, echoing again and again, was his mother's dying voice calling for him. Calling her son in terror. The Obafemi villa glowed like a fashion runway. From the living room came the beat of electronic music, fake laughter, and the constant ping of phone notifications. Ayoka was live-streaming her new designer bag collection, her luxury dress hugging her body like a second skin. Her face was radiant under the gold lighting, flawless skin gleaming through the camera. "Look at this one, my darlings," she purred, full of smug charm. "Limited edition, only 3 people in Lagos have it. And guess who one of them is?" Comments flooded the screen, praise, adoration, envy. Ayoka laughed loudly. She spun, posing like a supermodel, confident to the point of arrogance. In that moment, she believed she was untouchable, beautiful, wealthy, powerful. She thought the world was under her feet. But that world would last exactly 3 more seconds. Click, the front door opened. Ayoka froze mid-sentence. She turned toward the sound and saw Obafemi. He stood in the doorway like a towering shadow, silent and terrifying. No heavy breathing, no yelling. Just his eyes, the eyes of a man whose heart had been crushed into dust. No rage, no fury. No violence, just pure, unfiltered pain. Pain so deep it had passed beyond anger. Ayoka stiffened. The live stream was still running. Hundreds were watching, but she heard none of it. "Oba. Honey." Her voice trembled for the first time in years. She had never seen her husband like this. Obafemi took 1 step forward. Ayoka took 1 step back. No one spoke. The air turned thick like lead. Then he lifted his phone and held the screen directly in front of her face. Frozen on the screen was the camera footage. Ayoka standing with her arms crossed. Mama Tenu falling. 2 boar bowls lunging. Blood spreading across the white tiles. Ayoka's face went pale, so pale, even her makeup couldn't hide it. She stumbled backward, bumping into a small table. Her live-stream phone slipped sideways. The viewers' cheers turned into confused comments. I only wanted to scare her, Ayoka whispered. Obafemi closed his eyes. For a long time, a very, very long time. When he opened them, the look was different. He was no longer a husband, no longer a successful man. He was a son who had just watched his mother nearly die at the hands of the woman he once loved. Scare? He said, voice hoarse, each word dragged up from a dark pit. You call that scaring? Ayoka's lips shook. I didn't think. He pointed at the screen. This is my mother. The woman who raised me with these hands. She never wronged you. And you. His voice cracked. You did this? Neighbors began gathering outside. Rumors spread like wildfire. Within minutes, the gate was crowded. Shock on every face, horror, disbelief. A man whispered, "Is that Ayoka? She really did that?" A woman covered her mouth. Oh my God, poor Mama Tinu. But none of their voices mattered to Obafemi. He stepped closer. Ayoka recoiled like an animal cornered against a wall. You have to understand, she pleaded desperately. She always criticized me. She said I wasn't worthy, not worthy. Obafemi's eyes burned, red like dying coals. No mother deserves this. No human deserves this. Ayoka burst into tears. Mascara streaked down her cheeks for the first time, but Obafemi did not flinch. He could not. I'm sorry. She reached for his arm. He stepped back as if her touch burned him. Sorry? His voice cracked apart. You almost killed my mother, Ayoka. You stood there, watching her being torn apart until she passed out. You looked straight into the camera like you wanted me to see it. She choked on her breath. I panicked. I lost control. I didn't mean. He stared at her like she was a stranger. The video doesn't lie. Ayoka sobbed harder. Neighbors crowded the doorway, some covering their faces, some shaking their heads, some even live-streaming the scene. An older woman whispered, "She's dangerous. That woman is truly dangerous." Ayoka dropped to her knees, grabbing Obafemi's legs. Oba, please. I'm begging you, don't leave me. Don't let them take me. I know I was wrong, but I still love you. Obafemi looked down at her. The woman who was once his wife, once part of his dreams, once part of a future he thought they'd build together. But that future was gone, destroyed by her own hands. You love me? He repeated, voice breaking. What about my mother? A woman nearly 70 years old. You left her lying on the cold ground, bleeding, calling my name alone. His tears finally fell. Do you know, Ayoka? In my entire life, I only had 2 women to love. He looked straight into her eyes. And today, you killed one of them. The room went dead silent. Ayoka's body stiffened. His words cut deeper than any blade. Neighbors shouted, "Call the police! Arrest her! She must pay for this!" Ayoka jumped to her feet, screaming, "No, nobody touch me! Obafemi, help me, please!" But Obafemi no longer looked at her as a wife, only as a stranger who had destroyed everything. And he knew, in that moment, that his life would never be the same again. Lagos University Teaching Hospital glowed under cold white lights, stretching into long, quiet hallways that felt almost frighteningly still. The soft footsteps of doctors, the steady beep of heart monitors, together they formed a somber rhythm, the kind heard only by those who sit at the edge between life and death. Obafemi sat there, next to the bed of the woman he loved most in the world. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his tie loosened, his once perfectly groomed hair now wild, as if a storm had torn through him. But the real damage was in his eyes, bloodshot, hollow, the eyes of a man who had witnessed a cruelty he never imagined he'd face. Mama Tinu lay on the bed, small, frail, wrapped in layers of gauze around her arms and legs, red seeping through in places. The heart monitor beeped. Beeped, soft, steady. Each breath she took felt like a quiet battle being fought inside her tired body. Obafemi held her thin hand. It was so light he was terrified that even holding too tightly might hurt her. "Mom!" His voice cracked, broken as if stones were lodged in his throat. "I'm so sorry. I didn't protect you." Her hand moved just slightly. Her trembling fingers brushed his. Small, but enough to make time freeze inside the room.